All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. I'm Mr. King, and last night's game was a barn burner. All right, before we jump into it, like, comment, subscribe, and welcome to be back here talking to y'all today off of that great win last night. That's right, the return of the Mack. Mitchell Robinson is finally back. Everybody's been reporting, speculating, everything under the sun, and now he's here, and in those limited minutes, he made his presence felt. And we didn't expect too much from him, but I was glad that he was able to come in and at least establish himself on the defensive end, the way he was moving his feet. A little rusty, what you expect, but I loved it. And the way we put that game up down the stretch against the Memphis Grizzlies, who had pretty much the same record as us, says a lot. It says a lot about our character, the way we hung in there as a team. Our big guy, Jalen Brunson, stepped up when he had to, but it was other guys that helped seal the victory. All right, but before we jump into that too, I wanted to bring up the fact that people have been on us, and myself included, about we don't perform against the best teams. Okay, even though we recently, maybe a month or so ago, we went out west and took care of 3 of their top 4 teams. But a lot of our big games on TV, prime time, we haven't been able to show the world what the Knicks can do. And last night wasn't prime time, but it still was a situation where we had an opportunity to go on the road and let everybody know that we are part of this pack that we're in. Now, we still currently sit third in the East. We were in a 3-way tie for the overall 4th place in the NBA. And that just says a whole lot about us. You know, we nitpick here and there, but, you know, the Knicks is for real. And sometimes it's not going to be pretty. You know, when the ball is swinging and everybody's cutting and hitting open shots, it looks like it's diagrammed that way. And then for some reason, sometimes we go into this lull, you know, dribbling the ball and, you know, people are not in places they need to be. But last night, I got to give kudos when it started to look a little bit thin and slim for us. I kept my hopes up mainly because John Morant wasn't really being a Superman last night. And that could have been part of the defense that we was putting on them, and also could be a part that they have a pretty good team in the way that they play. Now, I look at individual players. You know, I always say we have a lot of individual nice guys on our team. It's just that sometimes we don't always stay as a team. And we got to stay as a team for 48 minutes. And when we do that, we're a hard team to contend with. You might beat us, but we'll be hard to contend with. And last night, everybody played their own small role in that victory. And we got to still give, you know, credit to Mikal Bridges, because the assignments that he has to take on, he takes a lot of criticism sometimes for his jump shot leaving him. But he has to always take on the best perimeter player on the other team. And that takes a lot out of you. And he's been holding his own, you know, fairly well, and mainly because he's not our main guy. He's not our main top 2 guys. So that you know, we can hide him in that sense. But when we need him to score, he steps up and score. And when he have his moments where he can take over the game for 5 minutes at a time, he's shown he can do that too. But we asking him to defend, and even if you don't totally lock down that other guy, he's there. And if you take away the pick and rolls on a lot of those plays, he would really lock those guys down. You know, today's NBA is a whole lot of pick and rolls, so even when you get down into that 4-point stance and you ready to slide and glide your feet, somebody's right there to bump you off, and then you got to recover. Now, that's just part of how it is now. You can't do nothing about it. But if he had to play somebody one-on-one, I take my chances with him. Even though in the NBA, you know, great offense beat great defense anytime. But in situations like that, he knows where he's going on the court in that situation. So, you know, still kudos to him. And then we gotta give it up to our boy OG Anunoby. Hit the big shot of his Knicks career. And I kind of like to go back to when we got him last year, when he was knocking down a lot of those corner threes. That was big for us, but to help seal a game winner, you can't ask for more than that. The only thing bad about it is that it wasn't done in the Garden. But nonetheless, it was done. And I love him for that, because I know he's still trying to find his way. At times, he want to be more part of the offense, but now it's just coming down to that crucial time of the season where we're going to have to hang our hat on Cat and Brunson, and then the other third guy, which between him and Bridges, then they just have to emerge to keep us afloat. But the ball now won't be able to be directed, you know, too many ways, especially when we start getting into that 9, 10, 11 games left in the season. You know, we have to really hone in and zero. And that's when it becomes Tibbs' time of the season. Tibbs really seems to wake up and get our guys locked in, down the stretch. And I don't see why this year should be any different. And it just seems like lately we've been doing it different, but our record shows that we still a top team. So if that's our downfall, I'll take it. I'll take it. As long as we know we staying afloat and we're getting the victories. Now, teams like Milwaukee, you can see that they're coming. Just like out west, the Lakers, they've arrived. So we have to also look ahead, but we got to also, too, keep pace of what's behind us because they're knocking on our door. But, Jalen Brunson, what could you say about him? He was Jalen Brunson last night. I just tip my hat to him because there's times where he just could have just took over the game and he still was, feeding our guys and trying to keep them motivated and keep them going. And it turned into some turnovers, but that's just to be expected. But he's trying, and I really give him credit for that because he could have just took over the game and left it at that, and he didn't. He was being the strong leader that he was, knowing that it's a total team effort for us to get to where we have to be. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns, he didn't have his best game last night. Still a presence, but the game plan, it just didn't seem like it was going through him, which was kind of weird in a way, but not his best night, not his best performance, but still, nonetheless, you got the victory. And then Mitchell Robinson makes his first return, comes into the game, get a couple little, dunk or put back, sliding his feet, being in position defensive. You see where he changed some shots, got some key rebounds, got the key rebound at the end of the game to help seal it. So we know going forward, we didn't get to see that big lineup tandem of him and Towns, but we know we're going to see that when time goes on. And because of Towns' foul trouble, that could have had a lot to do with it. But again, now we know we can start seeing the fruits of our labor and what we was waiting for and what we're going to be defensively just by having Mitch back. So I just love the fact that we dug in. We dug in on and it wasn't a must win, but you're going out west for a few games. You're taking on some of the West Elite, and you're just going to have to show, the Warriors we're going to the Warriors' hometown tomorrow. And you're just going to have to show that you're in the fight. The teams are not just going to keep walking all over us. Now, the big teams. So, hey, Tibbs, I saw something the other day where saying it's Tibbs' job on the line, and that's just ridiculous to me. Come on. There's things that we know that we like to see Tibbs do better, but he got this team the past few years in a place where we have never been in a long time. So I don't know why would somebody want to pick on that? I can see some of the faults people would bring out, but you can't see the results. Even us getting bounced in the playoffs, guys are tired too, but they still out there. And if you see that ball bounce one or two ways certain times, then that's on the player. That's not always on the coach. So to me, Tibbs' job is safe and should be safe. All right. And Leon Rose and Worldwide West, y'all have to know that. The more players we get, the better we can be. But for right now, we have a foundation that we haven't had in a long time. And we have a semi-identity that we haven't had in a long time. All right. So kudos to the Knicks. All right. Also, I want to talk about now, starting March 1st was the time when the Knicks are going to be able to sign or bring in another player. And even though we are happy with our team, there's some things that probably could be done. But I just say look no further than in our own house. Now, because of the second apron, we are limited on what we could do. But we can bring in a minimum salary player, preferably a veteran minimum as of today. And those names that we have on our roster in the G League is T.J. Warren and Shuma Okiki, who are very nice players. Now, because of the injury, who out 4 to 6 weeks just to be reevaluated again to Huck Porty, the Knicks may look to, inquire again about Moses Brown, who was our center in the G League, who was dominating, who the Dallas Mavericks gave a 10-day contract to, but they can't give him another one. So the Knicks may be able to want to go and steal a center to have on our roster in case of another injury. Now, I opt for T.J. Warren. Now, if they decided to get rid of another player, like let's just say DeLon Wright, who's at the end of our bench, and then they can sign two players, I prefer to keep DeLon Wright. He won't play much for us, but in case of a injury or major foul trouble in the playoffs, he's a long wing player who can guard and who can also turn his transition, points defense into transition. So I would like to just keep that. That's just something in our pocket, that I would just like to have. But TJ Warren is somebody I feel like, unless something gets blown away, I really want him on our team for the playoffs and even leading into the playoffs. Because I think if we can get him on this roster, and when time comes, because we know we don't have space, but when time comes, get him some minutes out there with whoever it is, the starters, the bench players, he's going to find a way to get a bucket. And we know that this Knicks team can go into a lull when it comes to trying to, get buckets at certain times, and then they get back on track. But this guy here, he can find a basket. So I would love to have him on our bench at any capacity, because we know that if we put him in the game, he's gonna show his intangibles, and it's gonna deem dividends for us. So they had their thing to do. I don't know how much input they taken from Tibbs, or do they have somebody on somebody else's roster that they're looking at? But the restrictions of the second apron, it don't allow us to do too many big things, which we don't have to. Having Mitch back is big enough. But I think if they prioritize defense, then they may go in one direction. But if you're prioritizing offense, because we do have a lot of defenders, then I would love to see TJ Warren on this team. Now, he's not a savior, but we need guys that they could just get a bucket. Kind of like Campaign is doing for us. And we didn't mention Campaign and Deuce. Deuce was his normal self last night. Big time threes, hustling in people's grill on defense. So we know we got that. That's solid. But we need a forward scorer that can come in and just get a bucket. Especially when OG or one of them guys, Hart, when they can't seem to find the range, he can do that. All right. But again, great win. I love it. It brought out a lot of emotions inside the game. And that's what we like. That's what the juices of a Knicks fan, what it is. Win or lose, they bring out your emotions. And last night it brought out good emotions. So kudos to the Knicks. Again, I want to hear what y'all got to say too. But like, comment, subscribe. And till next time, peace.